Don't rush into marriage. Some lessons you learn by watching others and some you learn just the hard way. This is the story of how I learned my lesson the very hard way. I messed up in so many ways. I realized this was true the day I got out, and a good friend of mine picked me up at the gate. "Come on, buddy, beer's on me. You must be thirsty." If I had just gone to his place that fateful night, if I had just turned around, walked away, and divorced that fool, the last 7 years would have been very different. My name is John Edward Mackenzie. My parents call me Johnny. When I was a teenager, my teachers and coaches started calling me Johnny Mac. When I went to work, they just called me Mac. It's stayed that way ever since. Everyone but my parents just call me Mac. There are 2 things you need to know about me. The first is that I'm a pretty big guy. I'm 6 feet tall, and I keep myself in pretty good shape. I don't have a very stressful job, so I go to the gym a few days a week. People meeting me immediately assume that I played soccer in high school. I hate soccer. Soccer is idiotic. Here's the game of soccer in a nutshell. Line up, kick the ball, run into the guy in front of you. Line up, kick the ball, run into the guy in front of you. Line up. You know what I mean. I didn't play it. I don't watch it. Soccer is stupid. Here's the second thing you need to know. My whole life I've been a guy who didn't get mad. I stayed calm no matter what was going on. My wife, on the other hand, had a nasty temper. She didn't discuss, she argued. She would say anything, do anything to win the smallest disagreement and get her way. She was manipulative, vindictive, and a lying cheater. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The only good thing I can say about her is, thank God the divorce was final 7 years ago. I met Dolores a few years after I graduated from high school. Everyone called her Dory, like the boat. I had a good job at a factory that made brushes. Just kidding. We made toothbrushes, clothes brushes, brushes the size of your fist that you clean pots in the sink with, and really nice brushes with wooden handles that were sold at woodworking stores. It wasn't high-tech, but I was making good money at it, and my nights and weekends belonged to me. I was happy. Dory was incredible in bed. She believed in the 3rd date rule, but I didn't know it until I drove her home at the end of our 3rd date. She was trying to kill me with sex. I almost dialed 911 to report assault with a dangerous woman. I slept very well that night, and the next morning she attacked me again. After that, we became a couple. We met every few days and all weekend. We went everywhere together, and it wasn't long before I popped the question to her. This is a lesson for you that I learned the hard way, and that you can learn from my mistake. Don't rush into marriage. It takes a long time to really get to know a person, and I didn't have enough time. I married a loving, committed woman who was eager to give me sex all the time, and very soon after I said I love, we didn't work out. I'm exaggerating, but not by much. The sex was good for about a year, maybe 18 months, and the marriage was good too. We got along great. She laughed at my bad jokes, and we enjoyed being together. Then gradually all the good things started to wane. She became less attracted to me. Sex became a little less frequent, and then rare. Every day or two became once a week or two if I was lucky, and less often if she was in a bad mood, which happened more and more often. When we did have sex, it was more like mercy love to keep me in line. As the good things fell away, the bad things got bigger. The credit card bills got bigger and bigger. She was working late, going out more with her girlfriends, and getting tired at night. She wanted dinner delivered to her, which we usually cooked together. I knew reality would come sooner or later, but it wasn't a reality I was excited about. All the while, I remained calm. I tried to talk to Dory about our life. I tried to put some spark into our evenings and weekends. I even suggested we go on a little vacation. But it didn't accomplish anything. If she didn't like the conversation, it turned into an argument. If the argument continued, the punishment began. I knew where it was going and tried to make her understand, but she didn't care. She knew what she wanted, and that's the way it was going to be. I couldn't understand. Why? What happened next should have taught me that holding things in wasn't going to work. Dory started bringing her girlfriends home from work and inviting them over for dinner. Those were the nights she didn't go out with them. Dinner meant that I had to buy food for 5, me, my wife, and the 3 Dorys, because she was too busy going to her girlfriends' houses to cook. Whenever I entered the room, I was asked to go somewhere, do this, or get that. It became quite clear that I was not welcome here. One evening, I was sitting in the spare bedroom reading when I heard her friend Betty say, "My God, he's such a wuss. How can you stand him?" Dory laughed. "Are you kidding? He does everything I say. He puts up with everything. I could have sex with George right here in the living room and he wouldn't even raise his voice." I couldn't believe my ears. First of all these fools can go fuck themselves. And second of all, who the hell is George? Look, guys who stay calm are not guys without emotion, and I'm not a wuss. Let's get this straight. I feel everything that every hot-headed asshole feels. I just don't want to create more problems that need to be solved. I believe that 2 people who have good intentions can find a middle ground and work out their problems. But it was becoming increasingly clear to me that the only golden mean between these fools and me was when they were on their knees at my feet, begging me not to throw them out into the street alive. Dory kept up. Maybe I'm a weakling. I just sat there and weighed my options. I didn't run. I didn't confront them all. I didn't shove their collective asses out the door. I didn't shove my wife into a chair and yell at her until she squirmed into a pillow. I just sat there wondering what happened to that wonderful woman I married. I couldn't find her anywhere. It felt like we were heading towards the end. Eventually, the bitches left. I mean, all the fools left except my own personal fool. She poked her head into the room and announced she was going to bed. Walking out into the living room, I found empty wine glasses and appetizer bowls to send to the sink. Yes, I may be a wuss, but I'm tired of being disrespected. I would be patient and think things through, but things had to change. The next night, I sat her down at the table. "Dory, we need to talk. I'm tired of putting up with disrespect from you and your snarling friends. You ignore me at night. You and your friends say mean things behind my back. I'm your husband, not your whipping boy. We can't go on like this. We need to make a change or we won't make it work." The fool laughed. "Don't be ridiculous. It was just talk. No one meant anything by it." "Who's George?" I asked. That set her off. She blushed, but immediately backed away. "What do you mean, who is George?" "You mentioned George last night. Who is George?" "What are you accusing me of? Do you think I'm cheating on you? Are you accusing me of something?" "I'm asking you, who is George? I'm not going to be interrogated. I'm your wife. And if you think you can accuse me of cheating, you can sleep in the guest room tonight and every night until you change your mind." Dory retired to bed, and I heard the bedroom door slam. As I sat there thinking about this eruption, one thought swirled around in my head. I asked, "Who is George?" And she said, "Do you think I'm cheating on you?" That's not really an answer to the question, is it? I never accused her of cheating. I never mentioned her comment to the fools about having sex with George in the living room, and I never even raised my voice. I only asked point blank, "Who is George?" That year, winter came early in our house. There were evenings during the next week when we didn't say 2 words to each other. On Saturday, she would go shopping, and on Sunday, she would get together with her girlfriends. Eventually, there was a thaw, and I was invited back into our bedroom, but it was far from a honeymoon. The beginning of the end came 3 months after I overheard a remark about George. The company was sending me to Ohio, where they had a plant that was having problems. I had developed a reputation as Mr. Fix-It, and they needed something fixed. So I went to Ohio. I called Dory every night, and she always answered. The calls were short, and I wouldn't say I looked forward to them, but we functioned on some minimal level. It was done. I always like to say that. And I headed home. Truth be told, I surprised myself. We got the plant up and running faster than I expected, and I went home ahead of schedule. You knew what was going to happen next, didn't you? I didn't know. If I had, things might have turned out differently. I walked in my front door around 10 o'clock at night. Dory's car was parked in the driveway. The lights were off. There were men's and women's clothes lying on the living room floor, and I heard voices in the bedroom. It was only a matter of listening, and I realized what was going on. The sound was unmistakable. My anger was growing by the second. I pulled up the man's pants and opened his wallet. The driver's license said, George Noble. If anyone should be called wrong, it's Mr. Noble. There's nothing honorable about having sex with another man's wife. I don't keep guns in the house, but I do keep an old-fashioned wooden baseball bat by the door. I keep it for home defense and as a memento of my childhood. I took the bat and headed for the bedroom. As I walked down the hallway, I heard moaning and grunting. My wife called out, "Oh, George!" I walked quietly down the hallway. Opening the bedroom door, I saw my wife having sex with another man. "How can you put up with that weakling? Divorce him, Dory. I'll take care of you. I'll give you what you need." When I started this story, I told you that some lessons you learn by watching others, and some you learn the hard way. Here's the lesson I learned that night. When you're full of rage, you can't control your muscles like you think you can. Okay, that's sarcasm. What I've really learned is that revenge isn't worth it. It's better to just walk away and get a divorce. I've spent my whole life controlling my temper. When I finally let it out, I paid a huge price. They didn't know I was there. I walked up behind him and took a breath. I swung the bat over his head and brought it down sharply. I thought I'd knock the spirit out of him or at worst break a couple ribs. God knows I wasn't going to do more than break a couple ribs. I severed his spine just above the waist. You'd think he should have screamed, but he only sighed and collapsed on top of my wife. Her legs slipped off his shoulders. She had no idea what had happened. Then the Dory I knew came out. "That's it? Warn the girl, will you?" Then she saw me with a bat in my hands and madness in my eyes. She screamed and shook George, but he didn't react. George was done. The rest is history. I was arrested, charged with assault, prosecuted, convicted, and given 7 to 15 years. I served 7. The jury included divorced men and women who had been cheated on by their spouses. I swear they almost let me go. My boss gave me my old job back when I got out. He understood everything. The first day I got back, he said to me, "Mac, I'm surprised you didn't do this sooner. She was a terrible fool, and all her friends were fools. Welcome back. Now forget her and move on with your life." I know you're going to ask, what happened to Dory? Nothing happened to Dory. We got divorced, and I was happy about that. She took everything I didn't use for attorney fees and left. I was fine with that. I didn't need anything that was tainted by that fool. And where I was going, I didn't need living room furniture. When I got out, I started all over again. The only good thing was that she was out of my life, and the future looked better than it had in a long time. Revenge is a fiction. I've learned that from my own experience. All you really get is freedom, and I paid a heavy price for it. I lost 7 years of my life behind bars and 3 years before that living with evil incarnate. If I had just turned around, walked away, and just divorced that fool, I would have been better off. Every once in a while, I think of George, usually when I'm climbing the stairs, and wonder if he likes wheeling and dealing. It's a hard blow, George. But that's what you get for having sex with someone else's wife. The end. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you.